turning to your weather now with this live look outside over Sacramento. Another mild, beautiful summer day. But Brendan, speaking of fire danger, you're tracking thunderstorms in the Sierra that could elevate that risk, right?
Yeah, definitely looking at some elevated fire danger in the high country due to thunderstorms. It's fairly quiet in the central Sierra. Some showers out there. We've had a couple of pop-up thunderstorms, but over the last hour, things again have gotten a lot quieter in the Tahoe Basin. That's not the case, though, as we look up in the northeast part of the state. Widespread scattered thunderstorms. Not all of these are stronger storms, but definitely you see all the lightning associated with these storms. The strongest storm that we've had at the moment is just to the east of 395 in Plumas County. This is a strong thunderstorm producing about marble-sized hail. It is moving very slowly, though. We're going to take the lightning off and get a better look at it here. And I put the tracker on it. So again, moving only about 15 miles per hour to the west. So it's still over an hour away from Quincy, but this is bringing quite a bit of rain, lots of lightning with it, and again, at times has had some marble-sized hail. Let's move a little further up to the north. We got a severe thunderstorm that's just crossed over the state line from Oregon. This is along US 97 north of Shasta, but the point is lots of thunder, lots of lightning, increased fire danger, and this will be the case tomorrow as well with even more widespread thunderstorms. It's currently 85 in Sacramento, 87 in Stockton, 87 in Modesto, 60s and 70s in the high country where again we've had those clouds and those storms. Tomorrow will be similar. We're still in the low to mid 80s across the valley, but another day with the high country thunderstorms. We'll look at Futurecast coming up later in the show.
Brendan, I understand you're also tracking fire danger in parts of Northern California.
Yeah, in the high country, and it all has to do with thunderstorms that are rolling through the area this evening, and we're going to see them once again tomorrow as well. Not a whole lot in the central Sierra at the moment. Some scattered showers out there, very light, but no thunderstorms as of about 6 o'clock, especially near Tahoe. That might not be the case later on, though. We'll talk about that later in the show. But where all the activity has been up along 395, now mainly just on the west side of 395 as storms continue to track towards the west. So some storms coming up on Highway 89, approaching Quincy, moving through Plumas. Some of these were severe warned about an hour ago. No longer the case. The only severe thunderstorm warning is up in the far northern part of the state in Wairika, and that's where some of the other stronger storms are, right along Highway 3 as well. Nothing here in the Central Valley except for very nice temperatures. 85 is what we made it to in Sacramento today, 87 Stockton, 87 in Modesto. Those temperatures about 10 degrees cooler than normal for the time of year. And that pattern will continue tomorrow and to start the weekend as well. So my forecast high, 82 degrees tomorrow afternoon, but we are going to be tracking some more Sierra thunderstorms. Could see some more widespread storms tomorrow as well. We'll time it out on Futurecast coming up later in the show.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's bring in Brendan now. We're having a memorable July. Just this week, we had a few sprinkles, rainbow downtown here in Sacramento. Nothing like what you're seeing up the hill, though, right?
Yeah, very unusual.
Yeah, very unusual for us, right? This week, I mean, this month has been unusual. It's the coolest July we've had since July of 2001. That's more than 20 years ago. But we are tracking some thunderstorms in the high country today, and they're going to be back tomorrow and likely a little bit more widespread Friday afternoon. Here's what radar looks like at the moment. It's pretty quiet in the central Sierra. A few showers along 395 closer to Yosemite, near Tahoe, maybe a few light scattered showers. There's not much there at the moment. Even some clearing in the clouds looks like that's what we're seeing on radar and satellite right now. Along and just to the west of 395 from about Plumas County all the way up to Modoc County has been where we've seen the strongest storms today. A couple of these have been severe warned, but now a lot of that activity starting to wind down a little bit, particularly in Plumas County. Still some spotty, heavier showers and even a couple of weaker thunderstorms coming up towards Portola at the moment. The only severe warned storm on the map at the moment, though, is up near Wairika along Highway 3 near Fort Jones. You can see it there. That continues until 6:45. But in our area, there is nothing to see at the moment. It's quiet, and this afternoon in the valley's been quiet as well. Very nice, though. 85 in Sacramento, a little warmer than where we've been by a couple of degrees, but nonetheless, still several degrees cooler than normal for the time of year. 87 in Stockton, 87 in Modesto. Let's look at Futurecast now. This is 11 o'clock tonight. Notice we do have a storm on the map. This is not a severe thunderstorm, but a stronger thunderstorm moving through the Tahoe Basin on this model. This is one of the only models showing this, but nonetheless, there is going to be that instability up there tonight, so something that we'll watch. By midnight, it starts to push off to the west, and as it falls apart, we could see a few showers working their way just to the north of Sacramento, closer to Yuba City and Colusa along Highway 20. Zooming out now, because tomorrow afternoon we're going to see the return of pop-up showers and thunderstorms, but I expect to see more widespread storms, especially in the Tahoe Basin tomorrow. This is about 1:30. You already see those storms popping up, but the bulk of the activity, the strongest storms, once again from about Plumas up to Modoc, along and just to the west to 395. That's where it's going to be once again tomorrow. We're going to have that potential for some dry lightning as well. And then by the time we get to Saturday, could still see some pop-up showers and thunderstorms, but not like what we've seen today, nor what we'll see tomorrow. But again, there is that chance for Saturday. For Friday afternoon, again, dry lightning is possible. So with these pop-up showers and thunderstorms, if you're headed to the high country, just hike early. That's going to be your best bet to avoid getting caught in a thunderstorm storm and fire ready, because that lightning could spark some new fires. 80s, low 80s for the next couple of days. Then as we get to Sunday, we're in the upper 80s across parts of the valley and seasonal low 90s to start next week. Hey everyone, ABC 10 meteorologist Brendan Minchev here with a live streaming weather update, because we had some thunderstorms roll through the valley this evening. None of the models really picked up on the thunderstorm coverage that we ended up seeing. It was expected we'd see a little bit coming up at 11, 12 o'clock, and you kind of see those forming. But the stuff that we had between about 7 and 10, none of the models did a good job picking up on. So it was a little bit of a surprise. But I think especially in July, we're more than happy to pick up a little bit of rain wherever we can get it. We have this little cutoff low pressure system coming on in. That's what's bringing us the clouds and the thunderstorms and the unsettled weather, and of course the cooler weather as well. This is finally starting to move inland. If you're in Stockton, if you're in Modesto, if you're in the Mother Lode, you're going, what thunderstorms? You haven't seen anything down there. You've barely seen any clouds. That's because that low is actually coming more or less right over top of the San Joaquin Valley. So the rotation of this system is bringing the storms and the moisture in from Nevada across the Sierra and then into the valley, where we have some humidity. And of course, whenever you get that any sort of instability in the atmosphere within the Sacramento Valley or even the San Joaquin Valley, sometimes there's so many terrain influences there that it doesn't take much for a storm to go ahead and pop up, and that's what happens. So you have this low pressure moving on through. This is bringing instability with it. It's also the driver behind the moisture that's bringing these thunderstorms, and then as they move off the hill into the valley, they're getting even some more lift due to terrain influence. So there's a combination of factors going on, but that's why if you're in the San Joaquin Valley, things have been dry. Different story in the Sacramento Valley. Starting over the last 3 hours from about 7:30 to 10:30, you can see we've had pop-up thunderstorms in the Sierra, but then we also had kind of some entrainment here moving through just north of Sacramento between about Auburn towards Yuba City. It's followed more or less Highway 20 at times, and you saw those storms that come through. None of these were particularly strong. There was one near Yuba City and Marysville that was producing some pea-sized hail, 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts, but none of these were on the stronger side. These were all kind of pop-up and then shortly after just fizzled out, and that's more or less what we had seen. We do have actually some content from you guys, some pictures and video. Let's look at this first one here. This one's from Roseville, of one of the thunderstorms that rolled in. Saw some lightning with it. There you go. That picture's from Roseville. And then we also had some from Yuba City as well. Again, this is all from Roseville. Very nice colors, some lightning in the sky. Not something we always see here in the valley in the month of July. This is from Yuba City here, shovel to the sky, summoning the lightning a little bit like Thor there. But yeah, and that's kind of how it was. Not everyone saw lightning. Some people did, especially if you were near Roseville, Lincoln, Yuba City, Marysville, obviously Roseville there. That's where those thunderstorms were. In Sacramento, in Woodland, on the west side of the valley along Interstate 5, we didn't really see those pop-up thunderstorms. We had maybe some very light showers across parts of the Sacramento metro, some lighter showers along I-5 in the Sac Valley, but the bigger stuff was on the east side of the valley and in the lower foothills. Coming back out to the map here, what you'll notice is we're now looking between about 8:45 and 9:15 with that storm near Auburn and the one near Roseville as well, the one that gave us some of those lightning pictures that we just saw. I also put a little fire icon here. Why? Because we have a new fire start. It's about 4 acres, potentially as much as 10 right now. There's firefighting resources there on the scene. This is near the Auburn Recreation Park. And this is, again, up to about 10 acres with some more firefighters on the way. Here's what it looked like just a little bit ago on the Alert California wildfire camera. This is the Sliger fire. I can't say for certain that this was lightning sparked, but what I can say is there was definitely lightning in the area, as you see on the map behind me. So this is something that we've been talking about for the last couple of days in the lead up to these thunderstorms, is that anytime we see lightning, it can spark a new fire. So it's something we're always concerned about. There were a lot of storms in the far northern part of the state today, and we have had some new fire starts up there. Thankfully, a lot of those have been very small. But this is one that we will definitely be keeping a close eye on. Again, this only started coming up on about an hour ago, an hour and a half ago at this point. Again, the Sliger fire to the northeast of Auburn, a little bit to the northwest of Georgetown. It's not a lot right near where this fire is, but again, the Sliger fire, something that we'll be keeping an eye on. So let's come back to the weather maps now, and we'll talk about what's out there at the moment, because we're not necessarily done with the storms this evening. You look out into the high country and you see some storms right now along 4 and 50. Kirkwood about to get a thunderstorm rolling through. This should come just to the south of South Lake Tahoe, but Placerville likely going to see some thunderstorms in the next little bit. And now we're going to start to see these storms push off the foothills westward into the valley. This could show up in the Sacramento metro area. We'll be watching closely if that does. It's likely going to fall apart fairly quickly when it comes off the hills and into the valley. But as it falls apart, we could still get a little bit of lightning and some lighter rain showers with it as well. Again, near 88, 4, 89, and 50 here. You see those major highways through the Sierra. Lots of lightning with this storm near Markleyville and near Kirkwood. Again, crossing 88 at the moment, but heading northwest towards 50. So Pollock Pines and Placerville likely going to get a thunderstorm here before too long, as well as locations along Highway 49. In the valley, we've only had one thunderstorm over the last hour, and at this point, it's pretty much fizzled out. Still some rain, but not really any lightning anymore. This one's moving through Yuba City at the moment, crossing Highway 70, soon to cross over 99. And then now we're getting a couple of lightning strikes with this storm coming up in Arbuckle, headed towards Interstate 5 on the west side of the Sac Valley. The very strongest storms have been well to our north, up near Shasta, up along Highway 97 and into the Northeast Plateau, but those are starting to wind down as well as that low pressure starts to move inland and as we lose the daytime heating, right? The sun is not out anymore, so the instability is going to be coming down a little bit as we go through the next few hours. But this is that line of storms that I'm going to be watching for over the next hour to two to see if we're going to get any rain, any substantial rain, at least in the Sacramento metro area. Best chances for rain are going to be on the east side of Sacramento, are going to be up near Auburn, near Roseville, near Lincoln. And then because this is pushing northwest, you can start looking at other places further up the valley like Yuba City, like Marysville, potentially Arbuckle again, Colusa. And then it just depends on how long they hold together once they come off the foothills. So again, that's why we're watching it. But as we look at Futurecast, you'll see those push off here. The models have not done a great job. I said this a few minutes ago. Models have not done a great job of forecasting these storms coming off the Sierra and into the valley. But as they push westward through midnight, through 1 o'clock, you do see the remnants of those thunderstorms starting to move through the valley, basically from the Sacramento metro area up towards Yuba City. And that's where we've already seen them today. So we could see a little bit more headed into the overnight hours. But tomorrow afternoon, we're basically going to repeat this weather pattern where by the time we get to about 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we're going to start to see those thunderstorms popping up on the Sierra Crest. I actually expect to see more thunderstorms tomorrow, especially near Tahoe, compared to what we saw earlier today. This is about 1:30, 2 o'clock, lots of thunderstorms near Tahoe. But the bulk of the activity, once again, going to be between about Quincy and Alturas, along 395 in the northeastern part of the state. Those are going to push off towards Shasta and the upper Sacramento Valley. Again, it has not done a great job with things in the valley, but I don't expect to see as much, if anything, in the Sacramento Valley and the San Joaquin Valley tomorrow. Saturday afternoon, we'll see some pop-up thunderstorms as well. Isolated dry lightning for Friday, once again, that we'll be watching for. But really, the thing is going to be those thunderstorms. So new fire starts possible, but you just don't want to be caught out in those thunderstorms either. Be storm ready and fire ready. Hike early and be off those peaks by noon. In the valley tomorrow, 82 degrees, staying below normal by about 10 degrees. I've got that full forecast coming up on Late News Tonight on ABC 10. Thanks so much for watching.
Yeah, Olivia, thank you. And speaking of summer, Brendan is tracking some summertime storms.
An active evening tonight, huh, Brendan?
A very active evening, a little surprisingly active. We were expecting some storms in the high country, but they actually worked their way down into the valley as well. And several folks saw some lightning, heard some thunder, even had some rain tonight. Over the last 3 hours, here's what radar has looked like. You can see how right around 8 o'clock, those storms started pushing off the foothills and into the valley. And Auburn, Roseville, Lincoln, out towards Yuba City and Marysville all saw thunderstorms today. Some very light sprinkles in parts of the Sacramento metro area, but we're starting to see some more storms moving back in. More on that in just a second. But I also want to say this is what we've been talking about the last couple days, where these lightning strikes can spark new fires. This is the Sliger fire just to the northeast of Auburn. It's 4 to maybe 10 acres right now. There are firefighting resources on scene, but that's what happens. I can't say for certain that it was started by lightning, but you can see there were at least 2 lightning strikes in the area of the fire just before the fire was reported. All right, let's zoom back out now. Let's take a look at what's happening at the moment. Low pressure starting to scoot in. This little cutoff low is what's bringing us the instability for these storms and the moisture into the upper valley. Stockton, Modesto, Tracy, the San Joaquin Valley, really even the Mother Lode, haven't seen much today. There were some showers down near Yosemite. That was about it. That's because the center of that low is tracking across the San Joaquin Valley, so it's wrapping the moisture into the northern Sierra and the Sacramento Valley. That's why there's nothing down there, and it's all to the north of Sacramento. We'll zoom in right now, Highway 50 and just to the north of 50s where a lot of that activity is, the strongest storm on the map at the moment. But you also notice it's starting to spawn some more thunderstorms out in front of it near Auburn and Roseville. And you see that trying to work its way down into the valley, right east side of the metro area, maybe some light showers as well. And then another little storm up to the north of Yuba City and Marysville. This is going to be the case for the next maybe 30 to 45 minutes or so until these storms work their way into the valley and start to fizzle out. So it is an active evening in terms of thunderstorms. We're going to see some more tomorrow as well. So even after this fizzles out, tomorrow afternoon, we're going to see some more thunderstorms popping up along the crest and 395. And we'll look at Futurecast in just a second. But temperature-wise, today was very nice. The very mild pattern continues. 85 Sacramento, 87 in Stockton today, 87 in Modesto. Those temperatures about 10 degrees cooler than normal for the time of year. And we're currently in the mid-60s across much of the valley, 50s and 60s in the high country. Looking at downtown, 64 degrees, winds about 10 miles per hour out of the southwest, and we'll drop into the 50s with some clouds overnight, potentially some light showers over the next hour or so as well in the Sacramento metro area. 57 in Sacramento, 59 in Stockton, 59 Modesto, 50s and 60s in the foothills, 40s up in the high country, and tomorrow afternoon, very mild, low to middle 80s once again. But once again, we're also tracking thunderstorms. So over the next couple of hours, we're going to see those storms linger before they dissipate as they move into the valley. We'll zoom out and take a wider look at Northern California because we're going to see some thunderstorms start popping up along the crest by 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. And we're going to see those widespread thunderstorms throughout Friday afternoon. Most of the activity in the far north. But if you're headed to the high country tomorrow, remember to be mindful for storms and fire. Hike early, be off the peaks by noon. Over the next few days, temperatures in the low 80s, then mid to upper 80s for Sunday, 90s to start next week, but that's normal for the time of year.
We got to bring in Brendan to plan it all out. If people are looking forward, maybe perhaps to heading out to the fair. How's it looking, huh?
Oh, we've been so spoiled. It's been a great run.
Yeah, this week has been very, very nice. We did have some thunder last night, but temperature-wise, it just does not get any better than this. We've been in the 70s and 80s all week long. Today was really no different. We are going to start with radar, however, because we have seen some thunderstorms in the high country, very similar to yesterday. We even had a severe thunderstorm roll across Lake Tahoe about an hour and a half ago. So let's zoom into the high country. Nothing in the valley at this hour, and I don't really expect to see anything in the valley. Could one of these storms push west off of the hills and kind of fall apart over the foothills and into the valley? Yes, that's kind of what we had last night. I'm not really expecting that once again. A lot of the drivers of what pushed those storms into the valley yesterday aren't necessarily present this evening. Nonetheless, we'll keep an eye on it and we'll see Futurecast in a minute. But notice what's out there right now. A few almost stationary storms in the areas south of Tahoe along 395, closer to 88, highways 89 as well. This is the storm that was severe around 4:15 this afternoon. It's finally starting to pick up and move off to the northwest after sitting nearly stationary for 30 or 40 minutes or so. But again, it is starting to fall apart and move off to the northwest across Interstate 80 at this hour. We'll zoom out a little bit. Lots of activity across the northeast. We've had a few severe storms up in Plumas County near Quincy this afternoon. We just got a new severe thunderstorm warning. There it is. It's over here, over in Trinity County on the west side of I-5 there. So we're going to continue to see some storms in the northern coastal range, in the northern Sierra, and likely one or two more on the stronger side in the Tahoe region. Not necessarily severe, but over the next couple of hours, we'll still be watching for those thunderstorms to pop. Here's a region-wide view. And again, from about Tahoe to the north is where we've seen a lot of those storms. And right now we're seeing some, including severe storms, in the coastal range. The Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma has actually upgraded the Sierra to a level 1 marginal risk for severe weather today. And that makes sense. That was good forecasting on their part. We have had some isolated severe thunderstorms. In terms of a severe thunderstorm watch, though, that probability of an issuance was just 20%. And at this point, I would say it's much less than that. Temperatures in the valley, 83 in Sacramento. It's been dry. It's been sunny. Very, very nice. 88 Stockton, 87 in Modesto. Running still about 10 degrees below normal for the time of year, already in the upper 70s and low 80s with a strong Delta breeze picking up across the Delta and the Sacramento Valley. 89 in Manteca right now, 87 in Modesto, 86 in Stockton. Up in Truckee, where we've had that storm rolling through, it's only 45 degrees at this hour. Looking downtown, 81 degrees, and through the next few hours, temperatures will be in the low 70s, then in the 60s by midnight. Very similar to what we've seen the last several days in terms of the overnight. Cool and mostly clear to start Saturday morning in the 50s, and then we're going to be in the low 80s tomorrow afternoon, continuing to be much below normal. Here's Futurecast over the next few hours. Still some scattered showers. Again, could see a few more thunderstorms popping up along 395 trying to push into the Tahoe region. But by the time we get towards about 10, 11 o'clock, I think most of that activity really ought to be winding down and not looking anything on the stronger side. Some lingering showers through the overnight, and then tomorrow afternoon, we're going to do it once again with some storms popping up. This time, though, for tomorrow, most of that stuff is going to be on the eastern slope into the state of Nevada and then in the far northern part of the state. Temperatures, though, in the 80s tomorrow and for Sunday. Then we're back towards normal in the 90s Monday and Tuesday. And we're going to stay in the upper 80s and low 90s as we get towards August.
Not a bad looking weekend at all, huh,
nope.
Brendan?
Just be mindful if you're headed to the high country tomorrow. Still could see some pop-up thunderstorms.
End of the fair, but Brendan's also tracking a weather impact alert for the high country.
We've had a few active days here, Brendan, huh?
Yeah, definitely. With the thunderstorms yesterday, and some of those even moved into the valley yesterday evening. Then we had some more pop-up storms today. Some were even severe near Tahoe. No severe storms near Tahoe at the moment, but activity is not over just yet. So as we take a live look at radar and satellite, the valley is clear and dry right now. But you do notice we've still got some storms through the central Sierra to talk about. Some of these are south of Tahoe, and particularly this one right near 395, just on the west side. We're watching this little thunderstorm. Really hasn't moved much over the last hour plus. And so we are seeing some heavier rain down there, but it is finally starting to look like it's tapering off just a little bit. Near Tahoe, some scattered showers. This was the severe storm up there just to the north of Tahoe. There you go. There's that storm closer to Topaz Lake, 89 and 395. But this was the severe storm near Tahoe, near Truckee. It's since weakened considerably and is moving off to the northwest. The strongest storms on the map are still in the far northern part of the state, up past Redding as you approach Mount Shasta there. This one that was in Trinity County was severe warned for about 45 minutes to an hour, but has since started to weaken. This has been the trend with all the storms over the last 30 minutes. Everything has started to wind down a little bit. This does not mean we are done for the evening, because we still could see some more popping up, but we're getting closer to the end of this active weather day. just based on what I've been seeing on radar over the last hour or two. Still a level 1 marginal risk for the northern Sierra. That continues for the next few hours, but you do see the lighter green shading here through Tahoe, through the northern valley. General thunderstorm risk for the rest of this evening. More on that in just a couple of minutes, but it has been a really nice July in Sacramento. July 2024 was the hottest since 1990 and the third hottest all-time, records going back into the 1870s. This July, our average observed high temperature has been 89.6 degrees, which makes it the coolest July since 2001 in Sacramento, and this very mild stretch of weather continues. Today made it to 83 Sacramento, 88 in Stockton, 87 in Modesto, 70s up in the high country. Currently, though, especially in the high country, it's pretty cold. 48 in Truckee because of those storms that have been rolling through, 65 in South Lake Tahoe, 70s and 80s in the foothills, 70s and 80s in the valley as well. As we look at downtown, 78 degrees. The clouds in the distance are those stronger thunderstorms up in the far northern part of the state. Low 70s by 8 o'clock, 60s as we roll towards 10 o'clock, and then into the 50s to start tomorrow morning. Saturday morning temperatures mid 50s to upper 50s, cool and mostly clear. Nothing much different to start Saturday from what we've had the last few mornings. Saturday afternoon, we stay much below normal in the low to middle 80s. Remember, average highs are in the low to mid 90s. We are just nowhere near that tomorrow. As we look at Futurecast for the next few hours, notice how things really over the next 2 hours do start to taper off, especially in the Tahoe Basin. Still going to see some showers and thunderstorms in the far northern part of the state, but I don't expect to see a whole lot more near Tahoe outside of the chance for a scattered shower, maybe a weaker thunderstorm to go through during the overnight hours. But if you're headed to the high country this weekend, we are going to see a few pop-up thunderstorms tomorrow, mainly along and east of 395 into the state of Nevada. So not as widespread and not as far west as what we have seen, but nonetheless something to be mindful of if you are going to be in the mountains tomorrow. Looking at the next 3 days here in the valley, 82 on Saturday, 86 on Sunday, then very seasonal on Monday and Tuesday in the low to mid 90s. That's where we should be in July. But notice temperatures take a little bit of a drop once again, upper 80s and low 90s as we start August. There is still no big warm up in the foreseeable future.
We like the sound of that, and it seems like a tale of two forecasts, right? Depending on where you really are.
That's a very Northern California thing, isn't it? Yeah.
If you're heading up the hill, be prepared.
Yeah, be prepared, be mindful.
Okay, Brendan, thank you.
Yep.
Well, coming up,
drivers, and it leads to this special kind of bond and this special kind of connection. So I really enjoy racing in front of the fans, especially here in Sonoma.
Tickets are available right now, and Chris, you can drive your Lambo that fast, right? So,
Yeah.
in my dreams, right? It's something else. The weather, I tell you what, I have to say, I'm excited about it, though.
Yeah.
I mean, because it has been something else these past few days.
Yeah, it really has. You might say we're shifting gears into Let's take a look at radar real quick. Yeah, still some thunderstorms out there. Temperature-wise, it's been very nice in the 80s, in the low 80s at that, across the valley. But we are watching some storms up along 89 and near Tahoe. Those will be winding down over the next couple hours, though. Futurecast coming up at 6:30.
Happy Friday, everyone. And don't forget, you can watch us anytime, any day on your schedule by downloading the ABC 10 Plus app.
And we start tonight with a weather impact alert. I want to bring in meteorologist Brendan Minchef because I know you're tracking some thunderstorms that were in the Sierra.
Yeah, that's right. Still a few lingering storms, but we did have a severe storm that rolled through North Tahoe earlier this afternoon. Here's what the Brockway Summit at Highway 267 camera looked like at around 5 o'clock after that storm came through. That's not snow on the ground, that's hail. This severe storm was warned for $half sized hail. And there's the result of some of that hail on the ground. So as we take a look at radar and satellite right now, again, not as active as it was even an hour ago, especially not 2 hours ago. Still some storms here just to the west of 395 south of Kirkwood. Again, these are mainly stationary storms, but it's just not as strong as what it was, again, coming up on Highway 89 there. And then this was the severe warned storm up here just to the north of Tahoe. It started to push off to the northwest now and is fizzling out nowhere near what it was an hour and a half to 2 hours ago. We'll take a look at Futurecast coming up in just a few minutes, Alex.
Over to meteorologist Brendan Minchef, who is tracking a weather impact alert for the Sierra tonight.
Yep, and that's because we've had a couple of severe thunderstorms in the high country, mostly up near Plumas County. But we did have one roll through Lake Tahoe earlier, and over the last 3 hours, you see this thunderstorm as it passed through the north side of the lake, over Truckee, and then finally started to fall apart as it lifted to the northwest. But as it was severe, it didn't really move very much over the course of about 30 to 45 minutes. So it dumped some rain and up to half-dollar-sized hail across parts of Highway 267. Now, active radar is mainly up in the northern part of the state, near Redding, near Lakehead, up near Shasta. That's where the majority of the storms are at this point, as everything near Tahoe is starting to wind down. Doesn't mean we're completely done tonight, but for the most part, I'm not expecting a lot more in terms of thunderstorm generation over the next few hours. And we'll see that here on Futurecast. Most of the activity going to be across the northern valley, across Shasta, up near Siskiyou County to Wairika and the Oregon state line, and not much left popping up near Tahoe. Maybe an overnight shower, a weak thunderstorm closer to midnight. That's going to be about it in terms of what I'm expecting going forward today. Tomorrow, if you're headed to the high country, keep in mind we could see some more isolated pop-up showers and thunderstorms. Not like what we saw yesterday, not like what we've seen today. It's going to be more scattered, even more isolated than that, and it's going to be slightly further to the east as well. So along 395 and to the east instead of from 395 to the west. So just keep that in mind. In terms of Tahoe, that could be on the north and east side of the lake as opposed to the south and west side in terms of where those thunderstorms are going to pop up. So still tracking some thunderstorms for tomorrow, but in terms of temperatures, it's been a very nice day. 83 is what we made it to in Sacramento today, 88 in Stockton, 87 in Modesto, already in the 70s in the Sacramento area because we've got a very nice delta breeze between 15 and 30 miles per hour across the valley and delta. Starting tomorrow morning off in the mid to upper 50s, very similar to the last few mornings, and we're going to continue to be much below normal on Saturday afternoon with highs in the low to middle 80s. We are going to warm up though. Sunday mid to upper 80s, then Monday and Tuesday very seasonal, very normal for the month of July as we climb into the low to mid 90s, and we're going to stay upper 80s and low 90s as we head into August, Alex.